Yo, Chucky, thank you for coming today, man.
Yeah, bro.
Thank
Pleasure.
you. We got there eventually, you know, schedules and all of them things
Yeah. Just to let you know, I'm actually not even going to be doing much more of these now.
Yo, so I'm gonna get to that, but there's a reason why I wanted to ask you here, and there's a reason why I invited you here today, and I have to set the scene first and foremost. So I am what I like to call a nerd when it comes to UK music, UK black music, everything that happens in our culture. I pay very close attention to it, right? So I remember the year's 2014 now. I think I'm about to go to uni, and I'm on GRM daily now. And I see this thing by Chucky called Real Talk with Chucky.
Okay.
So I'm watching it now. I'm like, okay, cool, Stormzy. I like the interview. I like the format. I like the style. I like the way the conversation flowed.
Yeah.
I like the fact it wasn't even an interview. Then I watched the second one with Jamie. I was like, you know what? I rock with this heavy. So fast forward 4 years, here we are in the studio with a similar setup. You've got the lights. And it's actually mad because this whole Small Talk series was actually down to the reason simply because you did that Real Talk thing.
Yeah,
and it's so mad, that fact that you inspired that, and now I'm here actually having a conversation.
Yeah, that's dope.
Whatever happened to Real Talk with Chucky, actually?
Well, the podcast ended up developing through it as well, because what happened was, it was an idea that I wanted to do from before. I felt like at that time, nobody was really having like proper in-depth conversations with artists and that. And then, so we did the Stormzy one, which was the first one, and then we did JME, and then literally after that, it was kind of like trying to get artists to come at certain times and scheduling and stuff. It just made it super difficult.
I feel you on that.
It made it super difficult. And then it was more like some of the people that we wanted to have conversations with didn't want to do it yet because of album and blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. They wanted to wait in their own time, which is cool, which is fair enough. It just meant that, you know, if I'm gonna have to wait 1.5 years for this person to drop their album, then I have to go and
do something else to do, yeah.
I mean, like, so in the end, I just thought...
Because you had the breakfast with Chucky as well, the one where you had Correct on that, I think it was.
Yeah.
You had Jamie on that as well. So like you've had different variations of still the same style.
Do you know what as well, yeah? Every new piece of content that I've started, JME has usually always been the first.
He's even been on HalfCast as well, isn't it?
Yeah, of course, he's been twice. But also, actually, he's been once.
He just did the live.
He did the he's been twice.
Nike
He did the live. He did the live, and he did the 100th episode.
Yeah.
But when I was on Bang Radio and I started filming like short interviews there, he was the first one too. So yeah, Jamie is. And then I felt like, even I was thinking about this the other day, when I start a next piece of content, probably I'm gonna have him as well. You know what I mean?
Like a tag team.
Like we've become really good friends and that, and he's a good human being, man. So
one thing I've realised about you is that a lot of people in the scene, whatever the scene is, know you, they're aware of you, but I don't feel like people actually really know you, because there are not many interviews of you. The only one I can think of, shout Alex Manzi, my guy.
Yeah.
I think he did the Dreams Disease podcast.
Yeah, that was good, man.
But there's not really that much information about you, even though you know everyone. Why is that? Is it a thing where you keep yourself to yourself, or you just like to do what you need to do and step in circles when you need to?
I think it's just because of like positioning, isn't it? I'm always usually the person who's asking questions or sitting down with people and having conversations, and I think that now it's got to a point where some people are kind of like, oh, what's the backstory a bit? But before that, I think people just enjoyed the conversations that I was having with the people that I was having them with. So it wasn't really anything that would come to anyone's mind. But now things are going the way they is. Some people want to know a little bit more. So
do you feel comfortable with being on the other side of the questions?
Yeah, of course. I mean, for me, as long as I like having a conversation.
Yeah, we know. You say that all the time. You know, I feel like that's your phrase.
So yeah, I don't particularly mind doing that. I mean, the thing is though, I'm only gonna do because I feel like there's only so much for the time being to talk about, and then maybe over a period of time again, I'll come back and I'll start doing some more, because I feel like every 5 years or so often you learn more about yourself and perspectives changes and things like that. So when I do it again, I want to be able to have like maybe new perspectives of life and things and stuff that's happened.
Man.
Do you get me?
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about your name to begin with. What I've realised is you're very specific with how you're addressed. You like to be addressed as Chucky Online.
Yeah, yeah.
What is the significance of that? Because I remember, I think you tweeted something, you're like, promoters, stop calling me DJ Chucky.
Yeah.
Stop calling me Chucky. It seems like that's something you're really hell-bent on. What is the significance online, and where did that come from?
All right, so Chucky actually first came from like the elders on my estate, yeah. So when I was young, when we used to make tapes and all of that stuff, I had all of these different names and stuff.
Oh wait, forgive me, this might sound real stupid, so Chucky's not your government name?
No.
Okay. I tell people
that though, like sometimes when I see people, they're like, oh, I'm like, they'll be like, oh, what's your name? I say Chucky, and then they're like, your mum didn't call you that. And I'm like, right, you disrespected my mum then. Because it could be. But anyway, no, so boom. The older lot used to call me Chucky. I hated it to begin with, but then in the end it just stuck. And then so as I was doing music and stuff and just being involved in it, it was just Chucky, yeah. And then, funny enough, I think it was Manny Norte who used to just call me Chucky Online. I don't know why. I don't know where it came from, but then it just stuck. And the reason why I'm so, like, not strict, but I really want people to keep that there if they are gonna add anything next to the Chucky, yeah, and not the DJ, is because there is a DJ Chucky in Holland, yeah. So it's like sometimes you could search for us and you might find me or you might find him. Do you get what I'm saying?
So I might think you're booked at a certain event that you're not at. Yeah, okay.
Do you get what I'm saying? So I'm like either just Chucky or Chucky Online, but that's where the DJ. Do you get me?
Yeah, cool,
so,
man. So then there was a stage where you actually started to MC. It's a garage. I don't know why I always see this video of you and Wiley. You knew it was coming, innit?
Like
2001.
Always
that video always resurfaces. How did you get to a stage where you were able to pick up a mic, MC, be on stage with someone like Wiley, D-Double and the rest of it? Like, how did you get to that point? And why don't you MC no more?
The God's honest truth is, originally I wasn't ever trying to be an MC. I always just loved DJing. A guy called Jason Speed was the one who taught me how to mix when I was 12. So when we were making tapes and all of that, like, I was the DJ originally. And my cousin used to MC, my other brethren used to MC, and we had a crew. But like, I just remember thinking to myself one day, these men are just chatting shit. I can chat shit like these man. I can chat shit like these man.
100%.
So I'm just gonna pick the mic up and I'm just gonna chat shit. So what I did was, I went on the radio and I listened to someone's MC at the time, I can't remember his name, stole a couple lyrics. Then the next time we made a tape, I just started doing that and I was just chatting his lyrics. But then after that, I thought, I need to write a couple of my own things.
Because people might start to clock in it.
Not even that, like we were just doing the tapes, they weren't even going nowhere really, we were just doing it for ourselves. But then I thought, I just wanted to write my own bars or whatever, so I did that. And then there used to be under 18s in my area. And again, I didn't even want to go. It was one of the guys in my crew, Carty, he was like, he kept going on. Our EZ's gonna be there. I'm like, I just didn't even want to go. In the end, I ended up going. I enjoyed it. I went there the next week and I blagged it on stage. So they let me on stage, started chatting 2 bars, and I thought, you know what,
Wait, do you remember
this is all right.
Do you remember?
Yeah, I do remember the bars.
I put you on the you're not gonna do it.
So I remember, I felt like, you know what, I wanted to do this. And then, like, some of the DJs that were there and some of the MCs that were like the special guests and stuff liked me and they were taking me around. Like, there was an MC called Kai who used to take me to all of the under 18s with him. EZ used to let me MC for him and all of that. So then, as that started to progress a little bit, I was still collecting records because that was my main thing. Like, that was always what I wanted to do. Always wanted to play music and that, and I was doing pirate radio and whatnot. And then, I think like I met Mega Man and that when I was young, like proper young. And then
these are all legends as well.
How that ended up happening, the Wiley thing, was a guy called Matt Heenan. He used to do a night called Garage Fever, and that was over 18. I wasn't even over 18 at that point. But anyway, he like would let me come in with him, So I went in, I was there with my friends or whatever, I had my pass, and then I remember just like all of these MCs, everyone was there, like, you know what I mean, big crowd and that, but I was too shook to take the mic, really.
But you still felt like you wanted to be a part of that, you wanted to be on the stage,
be on the stage, you know what I mean? So anyway, I think DT came off the stage and gave me the mic.
Wait, DT?
DT, MC DT,
I don't know why I thought Arsenal fan TV for a reason.
No.
Deacon Bar as well?
Yes, so he's giving me the mic, I've gone up on the stage and I'm chatting a couple of lyrics or whatever, and then Wiley's then come on. And then I thought I was gonna leave. I thought, because he's gonna come on, he's gonna do this.
Was that when Wiley was starting to get clout?
He was part of Roll Deep
Okay,
now.
cool.
So he was like, Wiley was kind of, he was starting to get clout. He wasn't Wiley, but he was like,
was still
to
known.
me, he was Wiley, because I'm like, I loved what he did in it. But to the crowd, it was like, Wiley's, kind of Wiley, you know what I mean? So anyway, me and Wiley then started going back to back and that. And then at the time, to be honest with you, I never thought much of that. I just did it. Little vibe. I knew that when I went back to my
But how many people were there? Because I remember in the video, it seemed like it was a good couple thousand people.
Yeah, there was a good few thousand. It was in Alexandra Palace.
What, Ali Pali?
Yeah.
Mad.
Yeah, it was in Alexandra.
You make it seem like it's light though.
Do you know what? To be honest with you, at the time,
you didn't realise the significance of it.
Yeah, it was a big deal, but I didn't really realise the significance of what it was I was doing.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I just loved, I love DJing. I like chatting lyrics or whatever. You know, I did that with Wiley. Like I knew him vaguely around that time as well. So yeah, and then it was on TV and stuff. I think it's in my house somewhere. But
so, what would you say is the biggest difference from music from that era to this present day? Because obviously there's such a massive growth. The scene has grown a lot significantly. What would you say the biggest difference is?
I think the biggest difference is probably the noise.
In what sense?
So like, I felt like back then, yeah, people just loved it. Like people loved it or hated it for their own reasons, as opposed to the noise of everyone else. See, like now, if you get like a bunch of people that go on social media and don't like something, then you have a bunch of other people that just follow that too. Do you get what I'm saying? And it's like they might even like it, but it's just easier to just follow what everyone else says. And I think, ironically enough, I commentate on the culture and speak about things like that, but I think that there is an excessive amount of noise right now.
Too much information.
It's too much,
and everybody wants to have an opinion.
But the thing is, everyone has an opinion, but the opinion isn't always coming from their heart.
Or in an informed place as well.
Yeah.
Because I feel like sometimes people, not saying that you have to be in a certain position to have an opinion, but I feel like because you're obviously well known, you know people, I feel people respect your opinion more than a random brother who's just decided, you know what, today I want to make a podcast. And I'm just going to talk about this, and this. So HalfCast, first of all, let's talk about the name, because obviously it's a term that some people don't use, a lot of people dislike. Who came up with the name, and was there ever any backlash when you first started?
Okay, I came up with the name.
Yeah.
And I came up with the phrase of why, because Poet, we was like, why? So I told him, two guys half the size of each other casting opinions, whatever. And he was like, it stands out, like it's gonna be hard hitting or whatever. But I also thought, when we came up with that, and I was like, we changing the name. And really, in hindsight, the logic is a bit bad still. Yeah. The logic's bad because I say that, I remember at the time, you know, like the word nigger, there was like this big conversation of like, we've changed the word, like
ownership
the
empowerment
and whatever, and this, that, and the other. So then I thought, even when we had this and we had the slogan, it was like, yeah, we've changed. Like, if we're going to use the same logic, we're going to change it, and we're going to have our own meaning for it or whatnot. And when we started it, we didn't have much of a backlash, but like, we still, like, I get people all the time that they might not know where it comes from.
Who you
so they're like, why is it that? And then when I explain it to them, then they're like, cool. Other than there was one girl actually at Wireless who was she was beside herself.
Wait,
and you know what, that's fine.
Honestly?
Oh yeah, all the time now. But the thing is, her being upset about that was fine though. Do you know what I mean? Because I understand it. But the thing was, I think the only problem is that where we were bumping heads is that, like, I'm trying to explain, but you don't want to listen. You don't even want to listen.
I'm saying,
So it's like, all right, cool. It's hard to have a conversation that way, but I understand your angle. But I had a rapper. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not going to say his name. But yeah, like, he must have messaged me one time, and he was like, yo, DDM me. And he was like, oh, you know that, like, HalfCast is what stupid people call mixed race people. And I was like, yeah. But that's not, it has nothing to do with race or whatever. Yeah. And then he was like, oh, you know, but it's kind of like someone calling a podcast niggercast or whatever. I thought to myself, you're a hypocrite. Because you constantly say nigger in all of the time. Every other word you say it. But you're about to go in your moral high ground and tell me about...
I can't do with my content.
That's mad to me. And I indirectly told him that. And we had a little conversation about it and whatnot. And I thought that would be a great way at some point to have a conversation about the word nigger and
have that on the actual podcast itself.
Of course, yeah.
Oh, okay, cool. So let's talk about Poet for a hot second. Because that's obviously your very good friend. I listen to the podcast religiously, and I can hear the chemistry. Well, now we can see the chemistry. Yeah. But talk to me about how you met Poet, and how you guys became such good friends, and then how he became the other person on the podcast.
Poet I met through Ara, who Ara was running the jump off at the time.
Ara the coach.
Yeah, shout out to Ara. and he was doing something called Jump Off the Baits, yeah? Which is literally where he would just bring like a bunch of people in together.
remember that.
You see like basically how Backchat is?
Yeah.
It was exact. Do you know what, yeah? It was so much like that. I remember when I first saw Backchat, I thought, right, this is what I was doing.
Yeah.
I thought, this is cold. But then I realised that he wasn't him or whatnot. It's cool. But anyway, we were doing something similar. And then I remember Poet came one day, and I didn't like the guy, to be honest with you, bro. I didn't like him. Came in and he was just a bit like, I don't know, like, it was loud, but that wasn't an issue. But I think it was like the way that he was projecting his opinions at the time. I just didn't like it. Yeah.
Was that the first time you guys had met?
Yeah, that was the first time we'd met. And I didn't really know much about him. Obviously, I knew he did Poet's Corner and stuff like that, but I didn't really watch that too much. And then how we ended up becoming really cool was, I think literally after that episode, when we all left, we'd all walk to the station together.
Okay.
So like as we're walking to the station together, we just chatting, like casually without arguing or whatever. And then like every time we were leaving this, the recording, we would just have a chat. And I realized this guy is like, he's just the most genuine and just cool dude, but he was going through a lot in his life at the time. So I know that he had situations with family and whatever, and didn't have that much money at the time or whatever, but his spirits were still always up there.
Still up there, yeah.
And we just always stayed in touch after that. I think after we stopped doing the recording, Poet was always someone I checked for, you know what I mean? And then how the podcast ended up happening was, remember after I told you about the One Extra thing, I started to do my own radio show on my SoundCloud.
Okay.
So I was like doing an hour radio show. Then I thought, you know what? Like I know a couple artists and that. I need to use my resources a bit. So I came up with this feature called Sound Check. And what I would do is I'd like ring an artist or someone that I knew, and then I'd chat to them for like 10 minutes, just find out what they're up to. I did like G-Fresh, Gets, Wretch, J Prince, Ray Black, like really early on. A bunch of other people, and like just chat to them, what you up to. Blah,
and it
blah.
wasn't like an interview, it was just more like a general
like,
conversation.
Yeah, like a little 10-minute thing, like what you up to, what's been going on, what's happening to you. I'd say that the J Prince and the Ray Black, they were more interview-ish because they were really
brand new to the scene, yeah.
So I was asking them about them. So
you DJ for J Prince, don't you?
I DJ for him now,
sick.
So then after that, then I thought I remember one time I was supposed to do Angel, because I was DJing for Angel at that time and we were cool, but then Angel was being long. And then I just thought, you know what, I had Wiley's number. So I just thought, I'm gonna piss in the dark, you know, and I'm gonna try a thing. But I know he's gonna say no, but I'm just gonna try.
Because he's notorious for not picking up his phone or being late or just not turning up to things in general.
So I texted him and I said to him,
and blocking me on Twitter. Never mind.
He blocked you?
Yes. Yeah,
I'm
blocked by Wiley on Twitter still.
How, bro?
Oh, it's a peak one. Basically, do I want to tell the story?
Quickly.
Quick one. So basically, I'm a massive Tiny Temper fan, innit?
Yeah.
So there was a point where Wiley and Tiny Temper were going back and forth, innit? And I can't remember what term, actually no, I do remember what term he used. He called Tiny Temper a coon.
Oh, I didn't like all of that. Yeah,
I didn't like that personally. Yeah. So obviously there was that era of Twitter where everyone,
that as well.
There was an era of Twitter where everyone would, it wasn't as PC as it is now. People would just say, oh, this, that, and the other. I was like, oh, Wiley, you're annoying, you're this, you're that. Yeah. And literally he was like, suck your mum. I've still got the tweet on my phone. He was like, suck your mum. I was like, oh, Wiley just told me to suck my mum on big Twitter. Next thing I know, like, the followers are coming in, and I can't remember what I said back to him, but then I tried to tweet him again, and I was like, you are blocked from following this one. So, till this day, I'm still blocked by Wiley. It's a bit mad because I work in the music industry, but it's cool. I can't come and kill myself.
He probably doesn't know.
Yeah, it's not that deep. I'm no one anyway.
I didn't like that. And actually, that kind of leads into part of this as well, funny enough, because, anyway, I ended up texting Wiley and saying, oh, like, can you do a quick interview or whatever? Then he was like, I said a phone interview. He was like, yeah, I can do it right now. I was like, what? Raw. Shit, boom.
Get the recorder,
sort everything out, whatever. He's like, I'll ring you because I'm in Cyprus. So he rang me. It was only supposed to be 10 minutes, as I said, because it was the feature. But then we ended up talking for like 45 minutes to after 10 minutes had gone, I was like, I ain't stopping this.
Yeah.
Do you get me? He's an interesting guy. The conversation was good. It was like 45 minutes to an hour. I thought, you know what, I'm going to let it go and I'm just going to throw it out there. So I did. I just put it on a SoundCloud.
Didn't edit it, just left it as it was.
Threw it out there.
Yeah.
And I remember people would like hit me up and say, oh, yeah, you know what, this is sick, but can you, like, maybe you should, like, narrow it down to, like, 5 minutes of thing. And I'm like, listen, if people find it interesting, they'll listen to it.
But you
remember,
were
at that time, nobody was doing that, so it was kind of quite new. You get me? So then I did a few more of those, and I think in the mix of those, I went to, like, Red Bull Culture Clash, and I just wanted to talk about it. So I literally just went on, I just literally turned the mic on and I would just talk about it. And I remember, I think when Chip went on Radio 1 and started doing the tiny thing and calling him a coup, I went and I spoke about that because I felt like at the time, my biggest thing was when I remember watching Tiny coming up, and I remember watching everyone else coming up, and I remember at the time, nobody was really checking for Tiny like that. Like, no one was probably checking for Tiny like that, really, And now, all of a sudden, he's the superstar now.
And
everyone
hating on him.
that he has to do this and has to do that. He doesn't have to do nothing.
I feel like there's a handout culture in this country as
it's
well. People want to be handed shit, where it's like, you haven't worked for it. If I've worked for my own, like Tiny did, I got the number ones.
Exactly.
For some reason, everyone hates him. So I still got love for Tiny.
But also, I think as well, with Chip, was that, which I kind of understood, was that when Chip was kind of on his come up, there was a lot expected of him from his hood and from the scene. So I think he might have felt as well, hold on a minute, people are expecting all of this from my hood and from the scene and that, but no one is expecting nothing from him,
brother,
from this guy. And like, I think that in somewhat bothered him as well, do you know what I mean? And amongst some other deep stuff and whatnot. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, and then me and Chip ended up having a conversation about it. He was actually supposed to come on and do the
radio show?
No, the thing that I did with GRM on the couch. But then,
to
be honest with you, I think that like at that time, I don't know if he
would have answered the questions that you wanted to say.
He knew my stance, and I don't know if he felt comfortable enough at that time to be put under a spotlight like that. And you know what I mean.
So going back to your relationship with Poet as well, you said initially you didn't actually like him.
Yeah.
So as I said, I'm a nerd, I pay attention to everything. Now you started filming the videos, they go up online, people can see what happens in the studio.
So we were just recording them at the time.
Yeah, so you obviously started recording it, but then obviously now it's visual as well.
Yeah.
I read through YouTube comments. Do you read through your YouTube comments?
No, not very often. Not very often.
Poet's not everyone's, I love Poet. Poet's not everyone's cup of tea. Do you see what people say about him? Do you ever gauge the general feeling about Poet?
Just for context as well.
Yeah.
Like, within saying everything that I've just said, I just rang Poet one day and asked him if he wanted to do a podcast, and then he was like, about what? And I was like, about absolutely nothing. And he was down for that. And we found a studio and we started recording and whatnot. But yeah, now that like we've been recording them audio-wise for a long time, and then I had the idea to film them, we started filming them, and yeah, now this is all happening. But like, the thing is, I say this a lot on the podcast as well, I don't like the numbers. I don't like to look at, I don't try not to check the numbers. The only time I know about I don't know, like marks that we've hit, like targets and stuff,
get, like,
is when
it's
when Callum just puts it in the group. Boom, Callum will be like, like this or that. Or other than that, I don't see. Bro, it's so deep. Sometimes when I go on YouTube, and I'm like typing in all the other stuff, I deliberately don't look at the numbers.
Seriously?
Bro. Deliberately, I just go in there.
That's a good thing.
Sometimes I know roughly where, without even looking at the screen, I know roughly where to move the thing. Boom, tap on that, then I put the thing. I just don't want to look.
Why is that?
Because for two reasons, One, I feel like right now, with like in the social media era and the numbers era, I feel like sometimes we as people put too much of our happiness in numbers. So for me, I don't look at the numbers. One, because on one side you could look at it and be like, it's not banging, like it's not doing this or it's not doing that, and it makes you doubt your product. Or I could look at the numbers and it gives me, it releases some type of endorphin that makes me extra happy. But it's like, I don't want this to dictate how I feel in terms of my mood. So I just try my best to avoid it, because that's just what works for me. Because I believe in my product and my content regardless of the number. But
that's a good way to look at it.
With Poet, although I don't read the comments as much, sometimes I might read there's like the most recent 5 when you're in the dashboard thing. But so I see some, but people always message me a lot. And like, my issue is that like there was one particular time, the amount of messages I got from of messages was annoying me though, because I'm like, don't message me, message him.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Because me and him had an argument on this particular podcast, and we had a difference of an opinion on this particular subject, and I was like, the messages that you're sending me, you're preaching to the converted. I already know this. You have to tell him
directly.
You have to tell him.
Does he know that people feel that type of way about him?
Well, I tried to tell him on the podcast.
Yeah.
And do you know what he said?
It's an L.
Nah, I said to him, bro, like, you know, I think when we start the podcast, we never start as in like, okay, go.
Yeah.
We just have it recording. I like it like that way. We just come sit down and then like it just kind of flows naturally.
Yeah.
So like one time as we was getting ready and we was flowing into it, I was in the context of a conversation. I was saying to him, you know, like sometimes some people have a real issue with some of the things that you said. And he said, no, they don't have an issue with me. They have an issue with themselves.
And that's the thing. That is exactly how poet talks. Like,
he's like, it's not me, it's them. And the thing is, this is the thing, yeah, right? In the right context, that is a plausible thing to say, right? Because sometimes in some situations, right, when people are just angry about a particular thing, they're not particularly angry at a person. They're angry at themselves or all the other stuff. But in this context, it's the wording that you are choosing to use that is upsetting
people.
Do you know what I'm saying? But he doesn't want to hear it. So it's like.
Do you know what? I've been emailing Poet for a minute now. I want to get him on it. Like, I'm ready to have a conversation with him. So, you know, you want to like nudge him, just get him.
I will do, definitely. But man. Poet is my guy and I love it. And you know what,
he's doing well for himself, man. Very
bro,
well.
And it's not even just that. It's not even just the fact that he's doing well for himself, but he's a very selfless human being, believe it or not. Like, he's always putting people in good positions. Like a lot of the people that are close friends around him, are all doing phenomenal things through him.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like sometimes he will, opportunity will come that'll be a massive opportunity, and he'll say, you know, I don't know if I'm going to do that, but you know what? Maybe Maya Jama, or maybe Mitch, or maybe this person or that person, and all these people around him are doing phenomenal things.
It's so mad because that community. Yeah, you mentioned a couple of names because that community of friendship as well. Like, likes of Mitch, who's done stuff with the Premier League and England team. Maya Jama started off at Jump Off. In fact, then she's gone on to do everything that she's done in that time. Specs as well recently.
Exactly.
Has done JD Sports. So like, it's good to see that as one person has been able to impact all these different lives.
Exactly.
And help them put money in their pocket.
In life, he's one of the most amazing people I know. On the podcast, he can be very difficult at times, but he might say the same about me. You know what I mean?
But it's interesting listening, and clearly people are interested and people still are engaging with that. But one final thing about the podcast, and I feel like you know it's coming, but I have to ask. I don't know how much light you can shed on it, but I even see his name up there somewhere. He came to the studio before. Mr. Reggie Yates. That's that situation.
Yeah.
Obviously, he made a comment about a certain demographic, and then your podcast was now taken to a whole new audience that you're not usually exposed to.
Yeah.
Talk to me about how you felt as a result of that.
How did I feel as a result of that? I felt
because obviously a lot of the commentary was negative, and a lot of the things that people were saying about just the conversation in general.
Well, like some of the commentary was negative. I felt like it was divided. Almost like you have the right and you have the left. And it was literally like that. You had the right that was just mad vex, and you had the left that was like, I understand exactly what he's trying to say. The wording ultimately could have been a lot better. He could have used different wording and stuff like that, but ultimately the sentiment of what he said was 100% true. Because, you know, at the time when he said it, I didn't even think much of it. I just thought, he's right.
It's casual conversation between friends.
And then when it started to go in the newspapers and do all of that, I felt really bad for him that he even had to step down from his job of that, because the conversation as a whole was inspirational. And so, like, it was a great conversation for me. Do you get what I'm saying? And for a lot of people. And in the context of what he was saying, it was true, because, you know, I know artists firsthand that have, you know, like, I could tell you about one particular artist who was about to sign a deal, you know, 200 grand on the table, 250 grand on the table, had a guy that was good enough to manage, the guy who was running around, pitching it to the lake, doing everything, But this dude, in his mind, felt like, I needed to go to this man, like, who was a Jewish guy who, in his mind, he feels that I've got to have a Jewish manager because these guys run the world and they do this and whatever, and they can, you know what I mean? And, you know, like, there's all these little myths that we have in our head. They got the secret handshakes, and if I go court, then they can do this. And it's like, you know what, we need to get ourselves out of that mindset, because, you know what? Maybe he is a good manager, but is he the best manager for you? Don't choose him just because you think that
what he can potentially do for me,
because of his back, because that's not necessarily the truth. The guy who's right next to you could be the person that changes your life for the better. Do you get me?
100%.
So, you know, so that was ultimately what he was trying to say, and also the examples of like Stormzy being managed by Toby, and, you know, even Steph being managed by she should be managed by Coach K as well now, but still, like, you know,
Zion and the rest of it, Do
you know what I mean? Zion and these man, like, we've created the industry now, where, you know, you don't always have to look outside for those reasons, though. If you're looking outside for the right reasons, there's nothing wrong with that. But just work out your reasoning, man.
Okay, so the final couple questions. So obviously, as you said, you know a lot of UK rappers, and one thing that I hate about this UK scene is that everyone's just hella sensitive. Everyone's hella sensitive. That's why I rate Alhan so much, because he Gasworks. I wish I created that program. Yeah. Do you ever feel like there's just certain things you can't say because you have existing relationships, or you know certain people, or if you say something, it might be seen, or it might be taken the wrong way?
See, for me, bro, I'm willing to talk about. There's been times where, funny enough, of all people, Poet has stopped me from saying, like, there was one time I wanted to talk about who should have been nominated for an award and who shouldn't have been nominated, and I was willing to say names, and he didn't really want to do that at that time or whatever. I'm willing to talk about absolutely any and anything. The only thing that I will not do is, there's times where, like, there's certain people that, or like one particular person in particular who's like my best friend, who works heavily in the music industry. If he gives me some type of intel, I will never say.
You can't say it because, you know
what I mean? I'm just not gonna do that. Especially if I know that it directly comes, it's obvious that it's come from him. Do you get what I'm saying? But other than that, if there's like some type of speculation on something or the other, I'll chat about that. You know what I mean? I'll talk about it. I don't have a problem, because, you know, at the end of the day, like, people are going to be sensitive about it, and they might have their objections to me doing that, But I know where it's coming from. I know I'm not coming on, my podcast isn't for me to come there and, you know, deliberately get onto people or do it. I just like to have a conversation about stuff. And to be honest with you as well, I've had bare man ring me. Bare people ring me, upset about whatnot. The only person
it shows that people are listening though as well.
The only person where it seems like it just kind of touches you a little bit when you get the call.
I know what you're gonna say. It's Gigs. Yeah, I knew it.
You see you see when
Gigs, the way he talks
when it just comes up on the phone, I'm like, I know right now he's not ringing to ask me how I am, what's whatever. Good? One time I was in Jamaica, and I turned my phone was off for the majority of the time. But then I turned it on this one particular time, and then I just see Gigs. Like, at first he must have rang me, and I got a text message saying that he called me, but then he's called me. So I'm thinking, I know he's not ringing me to find out how my holiday is. Yeah, he's not ringing me for that. So I'm thinking, what is it that I say? So I texted him back and I said to him, I'm just in Jamaica at the moment or whatever. And then, like, when I came back, I called him, but then he just texted me back and he's like, that's all right, it's cool, whatever. So I think, I don't know, he might have been angry at one point, and by the time I hit him back, he's all right now. I don't know.
Do you know, that's the thing is,
I think there's, at the end of the day, there's like a mutual respect in there. Do you get what I'm saying? So, you know, sometimes him, just like a lot of other people, might get a bit angry or feel some type of way, but I can justify and talk about whatever that is. Yeah.
So obviously we've spoken about your career, we've spoken about the podcast, you've spoken about the certain things that you've done over time. I hate this question, but I feel like everyone has to ask it. So what's next for Chuckie Online? Because it seems like you're in a happy space, you're doing what you love, you're DJing, you've got the platform that you want. What's next? Is there like an end goal? Is there something that you're trying to achieve, or is there just like, I'm gonna take each day as it comes and whatever happens, happens?
You know what? For me right now, yeah, I feel like there's a road that I'm going down, yeah, and the road that I'm going down is a nice road, but I don't necessarily know where the destination is.
Okay.
But I'm comfortable with knowing that when I
You're on
get to
that
that
right
place,
route. Yeah,
it's
yeah.
going to be crisp. Do you get me? So right now, me and Callum, like we're in the process of creating some new content. So there's going to be a new thing that's coming up on the channel very soon, which is like it's going to like good, a good little thing still. And yeah, there's some other things as well that
obviously you don't want to. Yeah, it's one of those you don't want to say. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying. But like,
Fair dues.
yeah, so there's like we're working on some new content, but also one thing that I really want to do is I want to start working closely with some artists and that.
Okay, cool.